So my name is Adjoa Yesu Greenlee. I am the owner and founder of Lotus Ring Wellness. I am a birth advocate in the community based in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm also a homeschool mom to 4 children. So I also have an organization called Future Leaders Black Homeschoolers. And I am trying to bridge together the two concepts of beginning a family and then raising and supporting your family in the wellness space.
My name is Zaybell. I am the executive director and founder of Zeal of Xander Inc. It is a nonprofit organization that brings awareness to Black infant mortality. I am based in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as Mobile, Alabama. The significance of the organization was to bring awareness that Black women are losing their children at a higher rate than our white counterparts, as well as Black women are dying at a higher rate of our counterparts. And so what I wanted to do was make sure that, one, the Black community had the resources because we were dying at such an alarming rate, but we did not have the supports, but also to educate white providers on how to navigate through a space where they are not trusted by Black women, and how do you speak the language of the community without bringing harm.
My name is Marie Boone Clark, and for the very reason that Zay just so eloquently described the circumstances, our work, I'm founder and executive director of Birthing the Magic Collaborative. We are a 501c3 that is focused on a national level. At the core of our work is we curate virtual education. So we close the gap that Zay just described. I am based in Scottsdale, Arizona, but we have a team across the U.S.
And we were talking earlier that not everybody is familiar with the term birth equity. Mm-hmm. So would love for one or multiple of you to share, what does birth equity mean to you and what called you into the work of birth equity?
I think when I think of birth equity, I think about the picture that was circulating, and it showed a number of people standing at a gate, and all of them were different heights and variation, right? One was sitting in a wheelchair, one was a child, one was very tall, but all of them had the same size box, which put the very tall person that far exceeds what they could see, right? And it put the person that was in a wheelchair and a smaller person right at the fence so they could not see. And so when I think about birth equity, we're so far past equality that we could never be equal, right? But meeting us where we are and where we are as Black people are in a deficit, right? People that are people of color, BIPOC individuals that are going into the hospitals to have their children are walking out empty-handed. That's what I said. When I lost my son, I came into the hospital with a baby and I left with a box full of things that I could never be able to use. And education could not save him, right? Affluence could not save him. And so what we are calling for in the equity space is making sure that we come out of the hospital with everybody that came in, right? Because what we know is that is not everybody's story, and I have lived it personally. So when I think of birth equity, I think about feeling safe in reproduction, not having a fear that I won't make it out to raise my children, or not having the fear that my children won't be productive in their adulthood because they won't even live through infancy.
For me, birth equity is, how do you see me? And I didn't realize that I wasn't seen until I was battling with postpartum depression. So a lot of what I do as a doula, it started in postpartum work. And I wanted to kind of put a name to what I was experiencing. I didn't realize there was a name. Nobody really talked to me about it. After I had my son, I did the survey, how are you feeling? What's going on? Do you have emotions? Well, I had all those things, but I was just given a pamphlet and that was it. And then I didn't realize till my 3rd and 4th pregnancies that I was dealing with postpartum depression. And it's because I wasn't seen when I was at the hospital. I wasn't seen when I was talking to my doctor. I wasn't really seen in the community because it's just, oh, you're just a mom that had another baby and you're pulling it together. And so for me, it's having Black mothers, Black families, having them be seen in the spaces that they go to and not just, another number, a statistic or a problem or an issue. It's how do you see them? And because they deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
For us, the first point is to acknowledge the statistics. that Black women, irrespective of their education, their socioeconomic status, geography even, are 3 to 4 times more likely to die as a result of maternal health complications. You can say that and go, well, because I'm at that age where we used to say, well, and we would say, well, it's because Black women don't have access to this, that, or the other. But the fact of the matter is that you can be a Black woman in the upper 1% of your socioeconomic status in the state of New York, right? We're not even talking about Alabama or Georgia or some of the southern states where we tend to attribute. But a Black woman with an advanced degree in the state of New York has a 12 times higher rate of death than a white woman with a high school diploma.
Right.
So for me, equity is, yes, making sure that those little blocks are getting the woman over the fence. But the fact of the matter is that given the statistics, we're not even getting to the fence.
That's getting to the fence is important.
Right. And so for us, it's closing that gap. The research shows that Black patients are less likely to have quality time with their practitioners. And we don't say that as an indictment of every medical professional, but we also know that there is a level of mistrust. We also know that there's a level of dismissal of Black women's experiences. And so what we see as birth equity is closing that gap, that we help not only the Black birthing person and those who care for them navigate the maternal health experience, but the flip side is that doctor, that nurse, everyone who comes in contact with that mama needs to address and combat their own bias. Why are you dismissing a woman like Dr. Shalon Irving, who has a double PhD, very well educated, was an epidemiologist for all things, right? And so she should have had a voice that said, I've been to see you 7 times in 3 weeks, and you're sending me home now again. And so if it happens to her, what happens to women like me that are from a small town in Kentucky? And I can't talk the language, right? And so that's where I think birth equity has a greater responsibility, is again, getting those women through the yard and up to the fence so they can climb on that little box to top peek
to
over.
at least see, right?
Yes, right.
And the 3 of you quickly in the collaborative created and started building this United for Black Maternal Health, ECLLC kind of working group. So I'd love to hear about that and what has that done for your leadership and for your work?
We just show up where Marie tells us to. That's first.
Pretty much.
Okay. So this is the honest truth. So when they started the first meeting, we were there. And what we recognized is that there were a lot of people that had an interest. Like most of us worked in birth work, we were doulas, Black women that really wanted to really advocate and teach people how to advocate for themselves. And then we had, of course, I don't say allies anymore, I say accomplices. We had our accomplices that wanted to learn, how do we help you advocate in the space when I'm a white woman as well. And then the second meeting, Marie came in and said, listen, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a panel. And she started like sending out emails and all of those things. And I'm just like, okay, well, let's do it. Because what I know for a fact is it was necessary, right? The yes was necessary. And who else could pull together a group of people from different areas on like a weekday and have like 100 people watching, right? Like it was like
250.
Okay,
yeah.
So like, correction, 250. So I think that it's necessary for us to have the Maries, the Zays, the JoJo's, Oshawas. It's necessary for us to have those people, the people that are innovative, the people that are, demolitionists, the people that flip tables, the people that's just like, hey, wherever I need to help bear the weight and support. And that's what happened.
That's how
right? Yeah.
And I think, somewhat of a certain age, so often we operate in silos. And I spent most of my career in a corporate setting where we were very proprietary, right? And so I come into this space saying, it's one thing for me to work for a pharmaceutical company. and say, I am going to go to the mat to protect whatever my prescription drug is because it's making me money. In this instance, we're talking about people's lives.
Yes.
Right? And so when I talk about Shalon Irving, it's from a woman, from a perspective of being her mama's friend and seeing the pain that her mother goes through. So in this instance, I've got to put my ego aside. I have to say, what is my gift, or what can I bring? And then when I meet someone like Zay and Ajua, and they bring such, and not just them, we pulled Kanika Harris, they were name dropping. There's a reason that on a Monday, Tuesday in the afternoon, nearly 250 people were signed up and logged on, because they may not know what birth equity means. But they do know that almost on any given day, I can Google and there's a headline, Black Mama dies, right? And so their concern is, how do I protect my daughter? How do I avoid being a Wanda Irving? How do I protect my niece, my daughter-in-law, my others? And that's why they logged in. And so I'm a big proponent of the collaboration, looking at it from a holistic standpoint. What ECLLC did was create the space for us to meet, because we'd never met. It's a little disjointed, a lot of the work, and people are doing phenomenal work in their respective
areas,
communities and areas, but no one had created a space where you brought us all together. For us to say, oh my gosh, I love how you address the needs of women who have lost their children, and better yet, how you address not even getting to that point, right? And so there are a lot of organizations that are out there that support people after the fact. But what
preventatively,
what Zay is doing magically is she's saying, let me help you before you get there. I don't want another mama to sit there and have a doctor say, no, your baby's not viable. When those of us who peek over the shoulders of physicians are saying, that baby was viable. We should have worked a little harder. And had she been in a different setting, they would have been fighting her to make the baby viable. And then for Ajua to bring that nuance of what do you call it? Post-colonialism in parenting, and how do we approach that from day one? Because we often think about, oh, I don't have to worry about parenting my child and how I discipline them until they're 5 years old. No, it's when you're doing that whole separation anxiety and sleep training, and how much of that is driven by an industrialized nation, not what's best for the children. So for me, ECLOC has always been, because living in Scottsdale, Arizona, I'd have never met Zay. And coming from a pharmaceutical setting, I would have never met she or Ajua. And so that's where I think the beauty of ECLOC is you've given us a chance to create this quilt of very different people, but at the same time, we're all providing that coverage for mama. So
I just wanted to add to what I like is that we all kind of have this like fiery energy to like do something, but this is the space where we can step up unapologetically, step up and know that we have other people in connection with our mission. And I just like that it's just like, hey, here's where you can do all that, and it is for families of color, women of color, all that stuff. And it's been wonderful. It really has been wonderful to be able to bounce our energies off of each other, and then see other people and kind of rope them into it too.
And without egos, right?
Yes.
Because I'm a big deal in my area. You're a big deal in your area. You're a big deal in your area. Yes, you are. You're my big deal. And so being able to kind of come together and bring our expertise and, different viewpoint, because I'm very Southern, right? I'm such an Alabamian to my heart. And just bringing that lens of what that looks like, but also being able to work nationally as well. And being able to, internationally, like growing up in the UK and, Africa and all of those things, and what things look so different, how things look so different from the United States and from city to city and state to state, but being able to collectively bring all of that expertise together and be able to pull something off like that was just absolutely phenomenal, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without this organization.
Amazing. What is your hope for the United for Black Maternal Health group in the future?
Oh my gosh.
So this is my hope.
Passion.
My hope is that the organization within the organization, right? The group within the organization will have momentum. My desire is a snowball effect, that it keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what we have inside of ECLOC is an opportunity to educate women and men on how to, of course, be preventative, but also how it is imperative that we consider birth, because we need to have the children, right, to educate them and grow them, right? So how do we do that, and how do we do that in a healthy way? What we know for a fact is that you need a license to drive, you need a license to hunt, but you do not need a license to parent, right? And so with this collective, we can, because people are not providing individuals information about how do you raise productive and purposeful children. How do you prepare yourself to be a parent to that type of to that type of child or that type of person and grow them? And what happens when you don't have those options anymore? Does it still make you irrelevant as the other mother, right, or the other father? How do you take ownership in that space? And so my desire is definitely that snowball, that we reach different people from different perspectives in different areas of what parenting will look like, even if you don't have a child that's living on this side of the earth.
I recently, I was leading a discussion, and I said, what does a whole family look like to you? And I had people answer, they're like, oh, it's got this and this and that person, a brother, a sister, uncle. And I said, okay, that's one way to look at it. I said, but what about if everybody is whole and feeling whole and complete internally? And they were like, well, that's different. My wish is to see the whole Black family, not like there has to be a mom and a dad and 2 boys and a girl. It's where people feel like, though I'm not broken, I'm not damaged, I'm not to be discarded, I'm healing and I'm in progress. But that starts with kind of attacking so many of these traumas. And birth is trauma. It's beautiful,
Yes.
but it's trauma.
Yes.
And it affects so many more people than just the mom and the baby. And it has lasting effects. And like I said, I homeschool. And that's a different type of raising your children and family altogether. But to homeschool, you have to connect with your children. If you don't have a bond, like Marie was saying, the attachment and all that stuff, how you relate to your child, that all goes back to the beginning. And we're hearing all these negative statistics and things that are happening, but it's like, let's take it back to the beginning. Let's start with birth and the conversation and family and wholeness and what you bring to the table, what you can learn from this person, how can we connect with each other. And so my wish is just to see the whole Black family, like just how we are functioning in this world. Things like rest conference. In the Black culture, resting is not a thing.
No.
It is not a thing.
Very foreign.
It is not a thing. And it's like stuff like this, events like this promote things that are good for us, the wellness side of it. And so I really just hope, like Zay was saying, just like a snowball effect. If we can just attack the beginning, we can make baby steps and progress to see the beautiful promise of a fulfilling, thriving life journey that we're entitled to. We deserve it. We deserve it.
I think you both have described what I would say is my hope. One is that I think there should be a very clear line or alignment between birth and let's get back even further, pregnancy.
Yeah, conception.
Conception, because what you do pre-conception often affects your pregnancy experience, whether it's taking folic acid and all the things that help that mama have a better, a positive birth outcome. And then once the baby's born, so there should be a very clear alignment between the perinatal, the preconception and perinatal period, and then postpartum and that child's developing years. And we often, again, operate in these silos where educators are like, I get that baby at 3, I get that baby at 4, I get that baby at 5, and I'm not thinking about what has transpired if the baby's born prematurely, if mom hasn't gotten adequate nutrition. Those can cause developmental delays that affect the child educationally. So bringing those two not organizations, but I think that's what ECLOC has done, is that you created these two sectors,
Yes.
or a space where these two sectors can come together.
Yes.
The other piece, to Ajua's point, is educating parents early on. That, you know, the things that, and it's not an indictment of our parents, but they were raised and they operated in the best that they knew how.
Yeah.
But we know better,
Yes.
right? And so how do we create that space where even at the very outset, from reading to your baby in womb to the separation and sleep training and all the things that we used to think were ideal, what's the better resource now? So bringing those two together. And then the last part is just helping those mamas, because think about, if I could be an educator and highly accomplished and a member of ECLOC, and I'm talking to Ajua, and she starts to talk about what is postpartum depression, you would be surprised at how many women say, I suffered, did not know I was suffering, told my doctor, told my peoples, and I literally have a girlfriend who is a brilliant nurse, worked in maternal health, and she said she had twins, called her, or triplets actually, called her friends in the bathroom sobbing, and they said, girl, you better suck that up. That man doesn't need to see you doing all that. And those were her friends.
Yeah.
And they meant well. But had she had an Ajua in her life, we need to do this.
Yes.
And so that's where creating this, where we get to interact with people and be transparent too. That's the other basis, that we all put on that mask, and because the world has not told us that we can be transparent.
And I think collectively what is also important, where both of you guys said, is creating a village, and that's what ECLOC did.
Yes.
Right? So it's one thing to be able to have like all of this information, but to have a woman that you could call and say, listen, that's from United, right? This is, listen, we understand that it's difficult being pregnant, and this is what you need to do as a community-based doula, as a postpartum doula, right? As someone that has PMHC experience, like all of those things. So I think that we are putting all of the eggs in a basket so people don't have to look in the yard, right? You see that? You like my things. I know you do.
I love it.
Right, put it all in the bags so you don't have to look in the yard, right? And so you have everything that you need in one spot, and that is going to help you pre-conception, when you have conceived, while you are pregnant, postpartum, and beyond. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, listen, y'all are leaders that need your rest. You need to experience the rest conference.
Yeah.
And as a result, I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you do in your organizations, in your community. Thank you for creating United for Black Maternal Health in the collaborative. And we can close here and let y'all get back to the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.